Hello, and welcome to a special Saturday forecast. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox. We often don't do forecasts on Saturday, but because of the risk that we have for storms both today, tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I thought you guys may want to stay updated. So I am doing this from home today. As you know, whenever I don't do this with a producer, I have to double check my audio. Sounds like we're good, so you should be able to hear me now. And I'm going to jump right into what we have going on across the country right now. Put your questions, put your comments in the comment section. I'll be able to see them here in front of me, and I'll be able to tailor the forecast to exactly where you guys are watching from and the questions that you have for today. So let's get started here. You can see from our live radar right now that we've got some light showers, maybe even some snow up in the South Dakota area, Nebraska on the western side of the state. Let's check those temperatures right now. Yeah, we're right around 30 degrees in some of these areas. We're probably getting some snow up there. You know, one of the most interesting things that we saw yesterday was up in Minnesota. We saw a severe thunderstorm warning, producing hail, producing about a quarter to a little bit larger than that size hail. And the temperature up there was 30 degrees. We don't see that very often. So we know that there's a lot going on in the atmosphere right now. We saw that yesterday. We're seeing that today as well. Let's take those temperatures off and really just get you a view of those storms out there, showers, and maybe some garden variety storms happening anywhere from Memphis to Jackson. Those showers a little bit farther to the north from St. Louis, just to the south of Chicago. So that's what we're seeing across the country right now. I'm sure you're in here though, because you want to see what we're expecting for today. Now, if you look at, and this is why we really like to do a very specific forecast, hail forecast, because if you look at the Storm Prediction Center's forecast today, you'll say, oh, just a slight risk, nothing big, right? Well, I would do a double take on that, because we'll show you exactly where we're expecting some large hail. And if you're looking for that hail factor, that hail peril, that is a big factor for today. So if you look at the Storm Prediction Center, they have a marginal risk anywhere from central portion of Iowa all the way down into Missouri, the eastern portion of Kansas, most of Oklahoma. And I think that's the biggest change today than what we saw yesterday, is that most of Oklahoma and a good portion of Texas, including Dallas, is included in this risk right now. So I'm going to give you guys just a minute to send in your questions, and then we'll get into that hail forecast. Actually, you know what I'll do? I'll just bring up the hail forecast while you guys are sending in your questions here. And then we'll talk timing, we'll talk hail sizes and everything here in just a minute. Alrighty, so let's get started here. Do we have any questions just off the bat here? Here we go. Okay, I can see Tulsa hail. Okay, I've got Tulsa. I have a city specific for Tulsa. We've got timing in here. So absolutely, we have Tulsa in here. Omaha, the risk for Omaha has gone down, but you're still in a risk. It's just really conditional. And we have Des Moines on here as well. Okay, so let's get started. Let's just jump right into it here. So largest hail risk for today, well, I'll kind of break down this map real quick. Okay, Omaha, yes, I have brought the risk down up in Omaha. Really what we're watching for is some smaller hail sizes. And if you look at one model, you've got storms going right into the city. If you look at another model, you may stay out a little bit drier. Kansas City, the risk has also gone down in Kansas City from what we saw yesterday as well. If we can get some storms in Kansas City, especially with this cold front, and I'll explain a little bit more about that in a minute, I think that you could have a really good chance for some large hail in Kansas City, up to the size, what do I have here, of ping pong to golf ball size hail. Wichita, the risk has also gone down, mainly because I think the storms are going to start just a little bit to the east of Wichita than what we saw yesterday. They started back to the west, and you know, that change of just about 30-40 miles there impacts that city greatly, but it increases the risk for Tulsa. So the Dent Dude asked on YouTube, increasing the risk for Tulsa. Yeah, and Oklahoma City. I think that's the biggest change to this forecast, is that we are greatly increasing that risk for Oklahoma City. And we can actually zoom down here and get a little bit more of a breakdown of what we're expecting. You know, you've got Stillwater, Guthrie included in this Oklahoma City risk. I included Norman in this risk as well as portions farther to the south and east of the metro. And then Dallas is also included in the risk now. If you look at the most updated Storm Prediction Center outlook, they also have Dallas included in the risk. But we did that hours ago before the Storm Prediction Center put out their risk. This is actually one, I'll tell you guys right now, that it was a very busy morning for us, and not all of these graphics are completely updated. So I'll update this right now so that you guys get the most accurate graphic here. Here we go. You guys are going to watch some like inside baseball. You're going to watch me do this in real time here. So here's what I'm doing. Let's see the most updated graphic. Max forecasted hail size for today, 2 inches. I think that we could see that just slightly larger than a golf ball size hail, 2-inch size hailstone, up to the size of a hen egg. All right, here's your significant hail model. I really like this model. You'll see a little bit more of this model whenever we talk about storms tomorrow. Significant hail model shows that those darker, those oranges and those reds are going to be your larger hailstones. Now, it doesn't talk about the likelihood for storms. It talks about if there is a storm here, what size hail will it be producing? Does that make sense? So it doesn't mean that everyone here is going to get large hail. If there's a storm here, what is the hail size for that? So I'll show you. We're seeing a trend for larger hail down into the northern portion of Oklahoma, all the way down into Dallas. But as we go throughout the evening hours, that will slowly start to shift to the east a little bit. And what I'm really watching for is this corridor right here, anywhere from Tulsa, kind of like hugging the Turner Turnpike down to OKC, down 35 into Dallas. So that's what I'm really watching for. You can see little red spots popping up down in the southern portion of Texas. And really, we're not going to have any storms down there, so I'm really not worried about any hail down there. No, where are the storms? Right here. Anywhere from southeastern Kansas into Tulsa, OKC, and Dallas. So moving through here, that'll play one more time through so you can see it just one more time. Next up is your timeline. And we'll break down this city by city, but I'll show you your overview first, and then we'll go down city specific. Omaha looks like you have the chance to get hit first into the evening hours. I have about 5 to 9 o'clock for Omaha. Then those storms just explode in 2 areas I'm watching for here. One just right outside of Wichita. Draw a little line down to the western side of Oklahoma. So I'm watching for these storms right here. It's about 9 o'clock. We're watching for those storms just to the west of Oklahoma City, most likely right along I-40. We're talking about Hinton to El Reno area, if you're familiar with the Oklahoma area. You know, that's about 45 minutes outside of the city. You've got some pretty good chances for hail. And I think that this storm system will be one of those that you sit around in the evening hours and you wait and you wait and you wait and you look at your watch and you're like, are they ever going to fire? And once they start going, if we can get storms to go, it'll be just one after the other, after the other, after the other. It'll be warning after warning. So that's what we're watching for today, is once it's on, it's on. Moving through the rest of the night here, those storms will continue to track to the east, and we will continue to see storms moving into southeastern side of Kansas, northern side of Missouri, into Oklahoma. We're really watching this cluster of storms right here from Oklahoma City to Tulsa. And then if you extend farther down to the south, really traveling along 35 here into Dallas, we've also got another little cluster down here in Dallas that I think will have the potential to hit the DFW area. The NAM wants to take this to the south of Dallas. The HER wants to go right into the city. So again, there's a little bit of inconsistency with models here, and I'll explain that just a little bit more as we go throughout the forecast here. Not as worried about these storms that are coming in behind that initial line. So you're going to see some rain into the early morning hours on Sunday. Could there be some hail with this? It's possible. Is the likelihood lower? Yes. Yeah, I think that if you see any hail with these storms, it will be on the smaller side. Alrighty, so there is your Saturday. I see a lot of people asking about Sunday as well, and we'll go back to this model and we'll talk about Sunday here in a few minutes. But you can see on Sunday, we have another line of storms setting up early in the morning. Not too terribly worried about that. In the afternoon and evening hours, I'm watching for those storms anywhere from Chicago down into the northern portion of Arkansas, even in the eastern portion of Texas. We'll continue to see those storms start to line up. And then once again, it'll be warning after warning after warning overnight Sunday and into Monday morning. But I want to get back to today. I want to talk about Saturday here. We're going to start up to the north, and then we're going to make our way down to the south, starting with Omaha. I saw a question about Omaha in here earlier. Colin had asked, how has the hail potential for Omaha gone down? Yeah, yesterday I had ping pong ball sized hail. I've dropped that down to $50 size hail here. And what I did was I put the radar on your location here. So there's Omaha. It's 2 o'clock on Saturday, so this radar goes about an hour ahead of where we are right now. And I think the best chances for severe storms will start right around 5 o'clock and continue to 9 o'clock tonight. Now, in Omaha, it's very clustered. These storms are very clustered in this area. So I think that your potential for if you could get a discrete supercell, we're talking about those isolated cells, you could get some of this larger hail. If it stays clustered like this, it's going to be very, very hard for those storms to organize because they're using up each other's energy. They just can't organize very well whenever they're all in each other's space, essentially. So the storm risk goes down after about 9 o'clock tonight, although you could have some lingering rain showers as you head into the overnight hours. So again, I left that at a moderate risk there. That's a level 2 on a scale of 5. Moving into, I'm going to go back to our map here. We're going to move into, I think we have next Wichita. So Wichita, we talked about those storms popping up. Back this radar up just a little bit here. Those storms popping up just around the city in the evening hours, right around 7 to 8 o'clock tonight. Once they fire up, once it's on, right? Now, yesterday, it looks like those storms in Wichita were going to be just to the west of the city. Now it looks like models are agreeing that they're going to be just to the east of the city. So you're going to see those storms pop up right around 8 o'clock tonight, just to the east of the city. So the city may actually be out of the severe risk. So I dropped down that risk on for Wichita as well to that moderate risk highlighted there in yellow. Now there's a chance that later on into the overnight hours you could get some of these storms coming up from Oklahoma, and it could be a pretty loud overnight where you see these storms moving in by about 11 to 2 o'clock. This is what we call 2 different rounds of storms, and Kansas City is in the same boat, where you have that initial round from the cold front after 8 o'clock, and then you have that second round from storms coming up from Oklahoma in the overnight hours, right around 11 to 3 a.m. So 2 different rounds here. That first round is going to be the greatest risk for large hail. That second round is going to be a lot less promising for hail, most likely some really heavy rainfall, maybe some high wind with that, but I'm not as concerned with these overnight storms. And KC, very similar. So if we go back to our map here and we look at Kansas City, we have to rewind this map a little bit. So go back to Saturday evening, Kansas City, really, really similar, where we have 2 different rounds for storms here. And I'm going to actually bring this all the way back. So watch, we've got that first round with that cold front. And then we've got that second round from storms coming up from Oklahoma that could bring more rain into KC. And we'll talk about the 2 different rounds. So let's get down to Kansas City now. Here we go in Kansas City. I have the best chance for storms 9 o'clock to 1 a.m. So we've got actually 2 different rounds here. I'm going to break this up for you. 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, that's your cold front. That's your best chance for some large hail. The HRRR wants to bring in the HRRR, the HRRR. Have you heard of that model? It's just a storm model. It's a weather model. It's what we use to forecast storms. The HRRR has these storms coming in about 9 to 11 p.m. tonight, and that's from the cold front. That is where we're going to see the best chance for large hail. So that's where you're going to get your 1 inch and higher hail sizes up to the size of a golf ball. 9 to 11 o'clock. That's your best chance in Kansas City. But you've got a second round coming later on in the late night hours. So we're talking about 2 to 6 a.m. Here we are about 2 o'clock. Maybe this is waking you out of your sleep. It's really loud out there. We could have some hail with this, but it's going to be a very low chance for hail. 2 to 6 a.m., pretty low chance for hail. These storms are going to be loud, maybe some strong wind with this. I'm not taking that hail risk completely off the table. I'm just saying it's a low risk. So better chances, most promising chances for large hail in KC, 9 to 11 o'clock this evening. Moving on, I think we're going to either Tulsa or OKC next. OKC. Okay, so we're going to go back to OKC. So again, the storms fire out on the western side of Oklahoma, moving into Oklahoma City after dark tonight. So actually, for all of my OKC folks out there, are you headed to the Thunder game tonight? The second that game is over, it usually ends around like 9:30. Head home, because I think I was even telling my husband we may have to leave a little bit early, because if these storms move fast, it's going to be pouring on us, hailing on us as you're headed out of the game. That's going to be just an absolute nightmare. So keep an eye on the storms, because those storms should start here in OKC about the time that the game ends. That's for all my OKC folks out there. But let's talk about it. 9 o'clock this evening. That's whenever we expect storms to approach OKC. So we've got it out here just to the west of the city, right along I-40, and then down to the south. Now up to the north here, we're talking Guthrie, Stillwater area. You're also going to see storms right around the same time here. So 9 to about 1 a.m., there's those storms. I have that max hail size here could be about 2 inches in size. A really good chance. I think I upgraded it into that moderate or high category for at least 1 inch hail size or larger. We're going to see what these storms do, but it does look like an increasing risk for OKC. OKC, compared to what we saw yesterday, your risk has absolutely gone up. Again, that is about 9 to 11 would be the most promising time period. Maybe you could see some of these lingering storms behind this initial line through about 1 o'clock. Now let's go to Tulsa. So we're going to Tulsa now, just going up Turner Turnpike a little bit here. Once again, a really good chance for 2 inch size hail in Tulsa. I think if I was to pick a city out of all the cities that we've talked about and that we will talk about that will get hit tonight, I think Tulsa has the best chance. My timeline for Tulsa is about midnight to 3 a.m. So you can see those storms approaching from the west. You're going to be able to see this coming. So keep an eye on the radar tonight. By about 1 a.m. at least, if not before that, depending on what side of the city you live in, we should have storms in the area. Really good chance for greater than quarter-sized hail, and you should be about severe clear by the time you wake up tomorrow morning. Maybe some lingering showers and storms, but I'm not terribly worried about this stuff that comes in right behind that initial line. So this stuff, not terribly worried about. That line, that's what I'm really watching for those larger hailstones and even a tornado risk. So if you know anyone in Tulsa, I have a lot of family up in Tulsa. What I'll do is I'll send them this forecast because not only do we have a hail risk with this, but also a tornado risk in this area. Moving on here, what's next? Dallas. Do we have a lot of people watching from Dallas? Okay, the Dallas risk has also gone up. You know, we talked about that OKC risk going up. The Dallas risk has also gone up. So DFW, what's your timeline? Storms firing after dark tonight. And the NAM wants to keep storms just to the south of Dallas, but I think in your Dallas specific forecast right here, the HER is what I've pulled up. Let me see. Oh, where'd it go? There we go. There's Dallas. Yeah, I think I pulled up the HER here, the HRRR. Just we have 2 different models we've been really focusing on today. Up to ping pong ball size hail. I was right in the middle. Should I go ping pong or golf ball size hail? Ping pong or golf ball size hail? I was right in the middle of that today. So potentially up to golf ball size hail. I went for ping pong. We'll see what happens. But yeah, up to ping pong to golf ball size hail tonight. I think you have a pretty good chance. I was also right in the middle of going from that moderate to high risk. So that level 2 to 3 risk. I think it's right in the middle. Can I do a 2.5 2.5 risk today instead of a 2 or a 3. Can I say 2.5? The timeline here for Dallas will be about 11 o'clock tonight into 2 a.m. tomorrow morning. That's the best chance for storms to hit DFW. Again, ping pong to golf ball size hail is what we're watching for here. Very similar to what I've said for the other cities. You could have some lingering showers into the morning hours. However, this has a lower chance to be severe. I would give it about a 1. Now let's talk about Sunday. I'm going to go through some questions right here. Just make sure I didn't miss anything for Saturday. Myron asks about the Hillsborough area, just an hour south of DFW. So again, your timeline is about 11 to 2 a.m. for ping pong to golf ball size hail. Did I say 2 p.m.? What did I just say? It's 11 p.m. tonight to 2 a.m. tomorrow morning for Hillsborough. What other questions do we have? Scott asked, what kind of radar do we use for future radar? I've been going back and forth between the NAM and the HER, just depending on what I think for each city shows the best timeline here. Consensus for Ponca City up near the Tulsa area. So for Ponca, I think that it's going to be right behind that Tulsa timeline here. I don't know if you can see it from our city-specific map. Let's see. Here's your Tulsa map. Yeah, you can see Ponca on here. So here's what we're expecting for Tulsa, right around midnight to 3 a.m. So Ponca just a little bit before that, maybe right around 11 to 1 a.m. up in Ponca. Maybe 11 to 2 a.m. And a really good chance also in Ponca City for not only that hail risk, but also that tornado risk. And that was Brian asked about Ponca City. One person saying it doesn't even show rain in Dallas. What model are you looking at? Because I've got 2 pulled up here, and I'll show you one and I'll show you another. So we were talking about models earlier, right? This is your NAM model. We've got rain starting in the afternoon, but the best chance for storms, and you've said Dallas? Yeah. In Dallas, 11 o'clock to 2 a.m. So this is your NAM. Again, you can see that these storms, the strongest of them, try to go to the south of the city. But if we pull up a different model, these storms want to go right through the center of the city. So that's Dallas. Cole has another question about Tulsa. Tulsa, best chance for hail. I have 2-inch size hail for Tulsa, and the timing, midnight to 3 a.m. So I did, and I told you guys earlier, it's been a busy morning, right? Just me back here. So it's been a very busy morning, and we can move on to Sunday now. But I'm going to update Sunday's risk, and I may do more of this evening whenever we go live for covering these storms in Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas, Nebraska, Missouri. Whenever we cover storms tonight, we can always go back to this forecast and do a little bit more on Sunday's forecast. But this morning, I really focused on Saturday's forecast. I didn't do a ton for Sunday. I know there's a lot of people here on for Sunday. I'll go through a little bit of what I think, but of course, this could change as we look at models a little bit more. Hail forecast for Sunday, and I have your timing as well. Your hail forecast for Sunday, we're talking about St. Louis and that level 2 risk, Chicago and the level 2 risk. Your hail sizes for St. Louis, I think that they could get up to golf ball size hail. I was right in between going orange or red for St. Louis. I think that places farther down to the south will have a good chance for some large hail. Shreveport, Little Rock. I would put my money on something like Shreveport or Little Rock for some of this larger hail. Jackson, Nashville. This area right here, I think, will have the best chance for large hail. Storms, however, could stretch all the way as far east as Cincinnati and get some pretty decent hail down there. Or I guess up there. Now here's what I did, because I told you I didn't have a ton of time to look at the models today. What I did is I overlaid, I want you to see what we do whenever we forecast here. So what I did is I took our significant hail model, That's that stuff highlighted in yellow and orange right there. The deeper those oranges and reds, the larger the hail sizes. And then I took our radar, so you can see that highlighted there in green. And I'll tell you the timing. I know that you can't see the timing, but I'll tell you it. So this is early on Sunday morning. And what we see from this significant hail model is we see the best chance for large hail. But you see that in southeastern Oklahoma, we could get some pretty large hail, but there's no storms there. Well, if there's no storms, you can't have any hail. So I would go ahead and put that as a no. We're not getting hail in southeastern Oklahoma tomorrow morning. Most likely not. So this is, let's go, noon tomorrow. St. Louis, looks like storms coming through around noon tomorrow. Chicago, you also have a pretty early start to this. Smaller hail sizes up in Chicago. I would go right around that $0.50 to ping pong ball size hail up in Chicago. Moving through the rest of the day here. This is 3 o'clock, favoring the northern side of the U.S. by about 3 o'clock. But finally, by about 6, 7 o'clock tomorrow night, we're going to see a line of storms form farther down into the south, including Little Rock, Shreveport with this. And we still have some pretty decent potential for large hail in this area. This is why I kind of outlined this area, Nashville to Little Rock to Shreveport to Jackson, for large hail. The timing on this, 8 p.m., 11, midnight, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 a.m. into Monday morning. So by early Monday morning, you're expecting those storms to be in Jackson and then stretching all the way up into the northern portion of Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, into the Virginias. I know we had a lot of questions about Sunday. I didn't do a ton of forecasting for Sunday. I really focused on today, but I wanted to show you guys what process we went through here to forecast. And that's not the only thing we look at. I look at a lot of different models for lapse rates. And honestly, why not? I've got a little bit of time here. Let's show lapse rates. It's going to take me a minute to pull this up, but I think I can show that to you. There we go. There we go. Okay, so these are your lapse rates. This is another thing that we watch for large hail. And can you see the timing? You can. So this is early Saturday morning. Saturday at 7 p.m., 10 p.m., 1 a.m., 4 a.m. So you see how like those overnight hours, like late tonight into overnight, early tomorrow morning has a really good chance right in between OKC and Tulsa for large hail. Moving into Sunday now. Sunday at 7 p.m. we have a good chance up in the Midwest from the southern western portion of Ohio all the way down to southern portion of Indiana, northern portion of Kentucky. This place actually got hit. I guess it was like right in here with a lot of hail on the 14th of this month, about 2 weeks ago. Another weekend event. Ooh, where'd we go? Go back. There we go. Okay. And then I also outlined this area, right? I talked about Nashville to Little Rock to Shreveport to Jackson for the late night hours Sunday into early Monday. And that is why, because we have some pretty decent lapse rates down there as well. So that's another thing that we look at whenever we forecast hail. Go back to the graphics here. What other graphics do I have to show you guys today? Ooh, tornado forecast. This is the tornado forecast for tomorrow. So this is from the SPC, Storm Prediction Center here. They have a level 1, and I thought I had cities on here. Do I not? Oh, there's your cities. There we go. Okay, we'll stay right here. So a level 1 for Chicago, again, these storms are in the morning to early afternoon hours. As we progress to the east, into the afternoon and evening, and even some into the late night hours, farther to the east over here, into the northern portion of Alabama, the risk goes up. And so obviously you can see that that highest risk will be right here in the area highlighted in red. And then that dashed line means not only do we have the highest potential, highest risk for numerous storms in this area, numerous tornadic activity in this area, but also some very strong tornadoes. So that's EF2 and higher is what we consider a strong tornado, or higher than EF2. And that is highlighted there in that dashed area, highlighted there in red, from Cincinnati to Nashville, just outside of Little Rock. And that is not the only storm risk we have. So we went through Sunday. There's Sunday, but early Monday morning, storms continue to track to the east, and we have storms expected to be into the East Coast by Monday afternoon. Monday evening, we're severe clear for a little bit. But by Tuesday afternoon and evening, we have another chance for storms coming into Omaha to, the southern side of Iowa, northern side of Kansas, northern side of Missouri. That's not it. Wednesday, we have a day 5 level 2 outlook here, which is pretty impressive to see it this far out. Day 5 here. On Wednesday, we're expecting another round of storms in this exact location. In this exact location that we just saw storms, or that we're seeing storms on Sunday, we're getting another round of this on Wednesday. So don't, close your shelters on Sunday saying, oh, we have a little bit. Another round of storms on Wednesday is expected, almost in the exact same location. So it's kind of a rinse and repeat from what we see today and tomorrow to what we're seeing on Wednesday. And I'm looking at some of our questions here. We have some very technical questions. How do I put the overlay on the radar? So this is all, we use WSI. It's a graphics system. So there's a lot of different ways you can put different products overlaid on here. It doesn't show rain on GR2 Analyst. And not the whole map with all the states. It's just a square box, black background. I would look at some message boards about that. So if you go on to, I think it's probably Gibson Ridge, I think you can see the message boards about how to set up your GR2. I am not the best person to ask about that. Our amazing Mets at Hail Trace set up my GR2 and my GR Earth for me, and anytime I have a question, they answer my questions because they are amazing and they know a lot more about GR2 and GR Earth than I do. So I don't see any specific forecast questions. I saw one about St. Louis. St. Louis, that's a tomorrow thing. And I can show you more of a timeline for St. Louis here. We'll go back to this just for a minute. Here's your timeline once again. Saturday, 9 p.m., midnight, 4 a.m., 7:30. So St. Louis, you're looking at tomorrow morning into the early afternoon. Look at that. 11:30, 3 p.m. By tomorrow evening, you should be severe clear in St. Louis. But yeah, hail is definitely possible in St. Louis, and so is that tornado risk. So we have a question about being in an RV in Denton. Should I worry about large hail and stay somewhere else for safety? If you're worried about the large hail, yeah, definitely look into other options for staying somewhere else. The good news is down in Denton, your tornado risk is very low. So of course, have multiple ways to receive notifications, weather notifications. One of those should be able to wake you up. Don't rely on outdoor warning sirens, those tornado sirens. Don't rely on those. That doesn't always wake you up. The Denton timeline here, I have DFW about 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. tonight. And so you can see that here. Actually, I'll just pull up DFW on our map here. Here we are about 9:30, midnight. So what did I say? 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. I would say that's pretty accurate for Denton as well. So late tonight, early tomorrow morning in Denton. I don't know the hail risk in an RV. So that's up to you, but you do have the chance for large hail up to the size of a ping pong ball to a quarter. So I would definitely make sure that you're in an area that you will not be outside in the hail. Tulsa, we've got a lot of people in here from Tulsa, and I made city-specific graphics for Tulsa. So 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. for Tulsa. I think if I had to choose a city on the map, a major city on the map that will most likely be impacted tonight, I would choose Tulsa. Tulsa, the potential for hen egg-sized hail, 2 inches in size, which is just slightly larger than a golf ball. I would put it on the higher end chance. So Cole is asking high or low end chance. I would put it on the higher end. So I have that as a level 3. And your timeline tonight is 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. And then I can show you all the risk from the Storm Prediction Center for Louisville and Naperville, Illinois. There's Illinois. There's Kentucky. So I can show you the risk for that. However, I don't have a good timeline for this yet. We'll be doing another forecast this evening as we're tracking storms coming into Oklahoma and Kansas, Iowa, Texas. We'll talk about that later on this evening. I plan to do another forecast late this evening. We're talking about 9 o'clock-ish. We'll jump back on and do another forecast, and then we'll talk about Sunday's risk in that forecast as well. So there's tomorrow. Of course, another big day tomorrow, another day you need to be watching out for. We'll do another noon forecast tomorrow as well. We'll talk about storms ongoing. We'll probably have storms in St. Louis at that time, probably storms in Chicago tomorrow at noon. But other than that, I'm going to jump off of here so that you guys can enjoy the rest of your Saturday before storms hit. Thanks for joining us today. I appreciate you hopping on here. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we, of course, will be tracking these storms. We have 17 meteorologists here at Hail Trace. So one person is always mapping storms, if not multiple people at the same time. Even though we have 7, 8 mapping meteorologists, more people will always join in and help them out. Hey, I saw this. Hey, I saw this. Hey, are you watching this? Even people who are not mapping METs, just METs in different departments, are always watching these storms. Of course, I'll be watching them as well. And we will go live later on, late this evening, right around 9 o'clock this evening, to talk about what we're seeing then and what we could see for the rest of the weekend. So have a good Saturday. I'll see you back here in a few hours.